The most divisive issue of 2020 will almost certainly be face masks. There is headline after headline across the nation of mandates being put into place by governments, business owners, and property owners, all in the name of public safety. One side says the science is settled and we should just capitulate to these mandates, while the other side is resisting for a variety of reasons. Does that sound like the climate change battle to you? In any case, we'll look at this fight for face masks in this episode of Analysis Behind the News, where we provide the perspective that you can use to restore American liberty and independence. The amount of propaganda and hysterical rhetoric is continuously being ratcheted up. It has gotten so bad that Illinois Governor Pritzker has called anti-maskers the enemy. According to an online article at thenewamerican.com, a councilwoman in Nashville suggested last week that people who refuse to mask up in public should be charged with murder. You've probably experienced some of this same rhetoric as you go about doing what used to be mundane weekly chores, like shopping, which have suddenly turned into a nightmare scenario of having to don a mask in order to play the theatrical part that the overall community of do-gooders wants you to do, all without a care or a thought to what this usurpation of powers will lead to in the future. But they don't see it that way. In an exchange with a high school friend on Facebook over the weekend about face masks, he made the remark that he just doesn't understand the fight. He suggested that wearing a mask should be a sign of civic pride that indicates you are helping to protect your community. Naturally, we all do care about one another, but what seems to get lost is the concept of individual responsibility and the role of government. COVID-19 is not the only sickness out there that is killing those who have compromised immune systems. Instead of using COVID-19 as the lowest common denominator, perhaps we should lower the bar to include other diseases like the flu, or maybe treat everyone as if they had a destroyed immune system by forcing all of us to dress like a practicing surgeon. The Judeo-Christian concept of responsibility toward oneself, one's family, and one's Creator suggests we are to be judged according to our own actions. A series of commandments is used to indicate the impossibility of keeping the law without a Savior. Unfortunately, many are looking to government as a savior during this pandemic. Yet the government's role as such is not justified in any way, shape, or form. Without government limitations, the wants, needs, and rights of an individual don't matter. Unfortunately, history is replete with examples of the mass murder of citizens by their own governments in order to control them. We know that our founders provided limitations to government based on their study of freedom throughout history. The Declaration of Independence points to the institution of government to protect our God-given unalienable rights, with life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness as being among these rights. The founders eventually settled upon the Constitution to outline these limitations. They understood government as a force to be controlled, and these controls are in the limitations of government as outlined in the Bill of Rights, as well as the delegation of powers from the states or the people to the three branches of the federal government. Of course, the 10th Amendment states that any powers not delegated in the Constitution are reserved to the states, the people. History shows us that governments with total control do so through violence. Chairman Mao Zedong, whose communist government killed millions of its own citizens, once said, "Political power grows out of the barrel of a gun." America's founders split the delegated powers from the states to the federal government into three branches, ensuring checks and balances among each. But since the founding, the system has been tinkered with, taking some of these away, allowing for the federal government as a whole to usurp powers that it doesn't have. The founders also recognized that we, the people, hold the remaining and majority of powers, that government was not needed to provide for us or to make our decisions, that we, for the most part, are self-governing. So what do you think happens when those in society don't trust others to self-govern? Well, look around. It's what we're witnessing today. My Facebook friend also mentioned that he doesn't trust the public to make their own decisions, particularly within healthcare, pointing to the long drawn-out battle of the banning of public smoking. And this point is being heard loud and clear from politicians across the country that are bound and determined to keep you and others healthy, even if they have to arrest you, fine you, and of course throw you in jail to do so. Recall a number of episodes back, we discussed the idea of mandatory vaccinations for COVID-19. The American public is now being conditioned to accept this for the good of society. Today it's only a mask to wear. Perhaps this fall or next spring, it's a vaccine. There are many ways to gain your compliance as well, especially if it's a condition of your employment or for daycare or schools. Perhaps it could be as extreme as access to purchased goods. Well, this is what democracy looks like. The majority sweeping away the rights of the minority. Yet trust is earned. Well, let's put it this way. Whether or not you wear a mask is a decision to be made by you, perhaps with input by your doctor. We need to be careful as we are witnessing a slippery slope of government power that trumps the individual. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the fight. The concepts of personal responsibility and government limitations are the basics that Americans seem to have forgotten. Americans need to be reminded of those limitations that government has, as well as their responsibility in ensuring government stays within its constitutional role. We highly recommend sharing and distributing our classic video, Overview of America, which does a great job in defining both of these concepts. The video is available free on our site and on our social media pages. It's also available as a physical DVD that is easily handed out and very inexpensive, usually less than $1 a piece in many instances. Links are in the video description. I'm Bill Hahn for the John Birch Society, and until next time, stay informed, stay active, and stay safe, Patriots.